this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world.
And he said unto me, you must prophesy again.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Trumpet Daily. Last week I talked to you about the teenage temperament that infects America's political system in Washington. But really that temperament stretches far beyond the borders of Washington, D.C. I think it's safe to say that it infects all of American society. In her 2007 book, The Death of the Grown-Up, Diana West refers to the baby boomer generation as chucking maturity for eternal youth, creating, she said, a culture of perpetual adolescence. In Forever Young, the teen aging of modern culture, Marcel Danese likened our childish age to a cultural disease. He said that we're now into the final silly stages of this terminal illness. Several years ago, the American Psychiatric Association revised its definition of adolescence, saying that it now extends from puberty to age 34 of all things. And you've probably seen studies before about how many more young people who really are getting pretty advanced into adulthood are living at home with their parents on into their late 20s, early 30s. It's becoming much more common than it used to be. Let's begin over in Luke chapter 2. We're just going to go through one example here today of a pretty remarkable young lad who wasn't even yet quite a teenager, and yet the maturity level of this youngster, as we'll see here in a moment, it was incredible. Let me just take you to a quote first from the Wall Street Journal. This is Brett Stevens. You can see from the title there, he's writing to the class of 2014. He says, "Allow me to be the first to offend you baldly and unapologetically. Here you are, 22 or so years on planet Earth, and your entire lives have been one long episode of offense avoidance." That's what life has boiled down to for so many young people. This is what they're being educated to believe. Mr. Stevens goes on in his column there to talk about all of the conservative scholars or thinkers that have either been shouted down on college campuses or have withdrawn from their speaking engagement because of pressure from some group, some activist group there on the campus that just doesn't even want to hear what they have to say. A group that just wants to silence any form of opposition. This is what they're being trained to do on the college campus. One more quote from his article. He says, "College was once about preparing boys and girls to become men and women, not least through a process of desensitization to discomfiting ideas. Now it's just a $240,000 extension of kindergarten." That's all that it is. We're graduating immature youths who really are unprepared for the responsibilities of adulthood. Just this past week we had our graduation here on the campus of Armstrong College. Our 11th graduation, I believe, our 9th group of seniors that have come through this institution, and certainly no group of young people is perfect. We're not saying that about ours, but our young people here on this campus are very different than the ones that you see on most college campuses today. They have their weaknesses and their problems to overcome. We all do. But they are farther advanced when it comes to maturity, when it comes to being prepared for the responsibilities of adulthood. And the reason for this is because they study their Bibles. They look at the examples in Scripture. They study history. They're expected to learn the lessons of history. They're expected to work here to put these principles, these laws that God teaches, into practice, and there's plenty of opportunity for that. Certainly we, with our music program, our speech program, all these things, we really do encourage our young people also to develop their special aptitudes and talents and abilities. And they're given many opportunities to do exactly that. Along the way, of course, they're taught about not just how to make a living, which is what the concentration is on out in the schools of this world, but they're taught how to live, how to make a marriage work, how to raise children, how to prepare children for adulthood. They're taught these things in classes, like principles of living and marriage and family, and the principles of Christian leadership and other such courses. They're given many opportunities to serve. They're encouraged to serve. They're encouraged to get the mind off of self and onto a greater cause, service in the community, in the church, service abroad with international projects. We're going to show you a short speech at the end of this program from our student body class president, who talked about many of the opportunities that the students here at this relatively small college, but the many opportunities that these young people are being given because they're pouring their heart into God's work. Really, what makes it all work here on this campus is the fact that it's a family atmosphere that revolves around adults. It revolves around father figures, ministers, teachers, instructors, parents, and then, of course, children. It's all able to work because there is loving family authority. And the kinds of things that you read about going on college campuses today, they're just simply not tolerated here. We tell our students, if that's what you want, there's plenty of other institutions where you can go and do that. But here it's different. Here we have to look to God's government for instruction, for direction, for correction at times, just as the Bible says that we should. Now here in Luke chapter 2, this example I mentioned just a little bit ago, we read about, of course, the example of Jesus Christ. Joseph is here taking his wife and children to Jerusalem to observe the Passover and the days of unleavened bread. And notice what it says in verse 40. It says, "And the child grew," this is speaking of Jesus, of course, "and waxed strong in spirit, and filled with wisdom," it says, "and the grace of God was upon him." I mean, this child grew to be strong and robust. And he grew in wisdom and understanding. You think about, we've talked about this before, in other programs, and we've written about it also. But the world's concept of Jesus Christ, it couldn't be more distorted. They picture him as being wimpy or effeminate. And yet, when you read about him here in Luke chapter 2, you see what his appearance really was like. And you see just how advanced his education was. And you see just how respectful he was toward authority. And you see how eager he was to listen, to receive instruction, to interact with adults. And he's just 12 years old here. This is a remarkable youth. Let me read to you verse 40 again. This is from the Living Bible, just a paraphrase of this verse. It says, "There the child became a strong, robust lad and was known for wisdom beyond his years, and God poured out his blessings on him." See, God blessed this young man because of his attitude, because of his respect for authority. He blessed him with additional understanding and wisdom, knowledge. You can look out at this world and see that even though we're in the midst of a knowledge explosion because of technology, there's so very little wisdom and understanding. There's so little common sense. 20-year-olds in campuses shouting down adults because they don't want to hear what they have to say. It's just like Mr. Stevens said in his column, just immature, little tantrums. That's all they're throwing, just little tantrums. And there's sadly, there's no adults in the room to correct that sort of behavior. It's upside down. All of society is upside down. Look at verse 41. It says, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of Passover. Verse 42 says, and when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they had fulfilled the days, as they returned, the child Jesus tarried behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother knew it not. They didn't even realize that he was gone. The custom was to travel in caravans at the time, and a lot of family and friends together. They knew this was a responsible lad. Look at verse 44. It says, but they, supposing him to have been in the company, went a day's journey, and they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintance. I mean, they just supposed he was there among the company. They knew Jesus. They knew how this 12-year-old behaved. They wouldn't have even thought that he ran off or was causing trouble or couldn't wait to get away from his parents or was off causing some kind of disturbance or problem. They just assumed they were going for a full day before they realized, well, hey, he's not even here among the company. What does that tell you about just how much they trusted this boy? How much they really loved the fact that he was so people-oriented. Well, he wasn't with the company, these people, but he was back in Jerusalem with other people, just immersed into a conversation with them. Verse 45, and when they had found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions, listening, very respectful, asking questions. He wasn't shouting them down. He wasn't kicking them out. He wasn't saying, hey, I'm the Son of God. Who do you think you are? It was nothing like that. It was nothing like the rebellious spirit that you see today on so many college campuses around the world. Nothing like that at all. He was listening and learning. He was immersed into it. So much so that even he was losing track of time and where he needed to be with the company and so on. Verse 47 says, and all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. See, his parents, those doctors, those interacting with them, they just couldn't believe that this 12-year-old had such deep understanding and wisdom on many different subjects. Down in verse 49, and he said unto them, how is it that you sought me? Wist you not that I must be about my Father's business? Jesus said, look, I understand I have responsibilities in the household, in the physical family, but I've also got these responsibilities within the spiritual family, God's family. Verse 50 says, and they understood not the saying which he spoke unto them. And he went down with them, it says, and came to Nazareth, and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. See, he was subject to his parents. This was not a rebellious, I'm going to do my own thing, diversion. This was Christ who was serious about his commission, his God-given commission. This was Jesus Christ submitting to his Father in heaven, first and foremost. And then as it says there in verse 51, he went back and he was subject to both of his parents, Joseph and Mary. What a balance there was in this life. What a family man he was. Whether you look at it on the spiritual level or the physical. And because of all this, his growth, his education, his understanding, all of this increased mightily. His development accelerated because of it. Verse 52 says, and Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. What a teenager. He grew in wisdom and stature with God and man. It's got to be both. But see, God has been removed from the campuses. God has been disfellowshipped from our society. We've rejected God. And so we're left to our own ignorant devices, Paul said in the book of Romans. We've rejected God. And so here we are in the final silly stages of our immature adolescent culture, as I talked to you about last night. So much so that you see grown men and women behaving like little children, even in top positions of government, even in top positions on the college campus. Upside down. It wasn't that way with Jesus Christ. Here he was, this robust lad, strong, physically fit, healthy, outdoors, an outdoorsman, very active, while at the same time growing in wisdom, a hard worker, and also one who really applied himself to his studies, the study of God's Word, the study of literature, poetry, math, and science, and so on. So much so that he was right there in the temple reasoning with some of the most scholarly individuals of his day. As a 12-year-old lad, he was reasoning with doctors and lawyers. Now that's some kind of maturity. That's some kind of balanced lifestyle that obviously attracted a lot of attention from other people. If you'd like to read a little bit more about the educational program here at God's College, here at Armstrong College, we've got a free booklet for you, Education with Vision. You can see the number there on your screen if you'd like to call for a free copy. Our operators will be sure to send it out to you right away. You can also get it online at thetrumpet.com in the literature section of the website. All right, well, as I stated earlier, we're going to conclude today's program with a short speech given at graduation just the other night, May the 18th, by our student body president, Mr. Christopher Eames. He just graduated from Armstrong College himself, has traveled the world with some of our programs, served in Jerusalem as an assistant area supervisor under the direction of Dr. Elat Mazar there at the Ophel Dig in 2012 and then again in 2013. He's also been very instrumental in the music activities on campus, working with young people many years younger than he is, and he's only 22 years of age himself. So he's contributed a lot to this institution, and these are his remarks at our graduation ceremony 2014.
Thank you. Welcome, fathers, mothers, uncles and aunts, grandmothers, grandfathers, sisters, brothers, children, teachers, students. Today I want to talk to you about hope, because quite frankly, there isn't much of it in this world. You look at the news, there is so much suffering and so much hopelessness. The conflicts in Syria, in Egypt, in Libya, in Ukraine, the natural disasters afflicting the world, spread of diseases, floods, droughts, tornadoes, famines. So many people just go from day to day, just getting by. So many people go to sleep at night not knowing if they're going to wake up or not. Not filled with hope, but just trying to make it from one day to the next. Just trying to get by, just trying to stay alive. And for those who do live in privileged environments, many aimlessly lead their lives down paths of chance and circumstance, happenstance. Many people are not sure of what the future holds, and they don't really care. The wise Solomon once wrote that where there is no vision, the people perish. What hope can be found in this world? What hope of a better life can be found in this world? It all comes back down to, doesn't it, education. How one is taught and raised up in the way that he should go. So many colleges and universities today teach students how to earn a living, That is all very well and good. But there is something missing, and the mantra of this college, Herbert W. Armstrong College, is to teach students how to live. Not just how to earn a living, but how to live. Herbert W. Armstrong College, thus, is necessarily a liberal arts college, not founded on teaching each student just a niche subject, but giving a broad spread of subjects from which is taught many different classes with a strong emphasis on theology and teaching students how to live ordered, structured, strong, and principled lives. There are the Bible classes, the science classes, the music classes, the sports classes, archaeology classes, computing classes, Hebrew language classes. The list just goes on and on and on. And the students here are as diverse as the classes. This past year, we had about 80 students attending. It's not much by the standards of most colleges around this world. But making up those few students here were people from America, from Canada, from Australia, New Zealand, England, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Germany. Our very first student from Germany this year. All gathering together on one 170-acre campus, adorned with the beautiful buildings from which the classes are held. We meet here together now in the magnificent Armstrong Auditorium, the crown jewel of this campus. This beautiful multi-million-dollar auditorium hosts world-class performances with national groups arriving here. From Russia, from Germany, from Israel, from Hungary, Poland, China, the Philippines, Ireland, Austria, and the list goes on and on. Reputed orchestral arrangements and dance groups from all of these countries all around the world. And the students, it is the students at Armstrong College that help facilitate these performances, that staff the event, an incredible opportunity to serve the public and to gain experience in facilitating these world-renowned musicians. Students serve in positions from ushering to serving as stagehand, to operating the lights, to selling concessions, serving food to these performers. Not only does this beautiful cherrywood paneled, crystal-adorned, gold-trimmed auditorium serve as a concert hall, but it also serves as our classroom. That's right, a beautiful building like this serves as our classroom. Such is an experience entirely unique to students at Herbert W. Armstrong College, as opposed to any other college on this earth. There is another opportunity, unique opportunity that this college offers to its students, unique from any other. And last summer, I was privileged to go on this opportunity, this trip to Jerusalem, Israel, with a bunch of many of my students. The excavations there in Jerusalem took place under the leadership of Dr. Alot Mazar of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And through those excavations there, we were able to reveal 3,000-year-old archaeological remains dating right back to the time of King David and King Solomon. One leading Israeli archaeologist hailed the finds as being the most important excavation in all of Israel. Students from a pokey little college here in Edmond, Oklahoma, were over in Israel involved in the most important excavation going on in all Israel. And we were working there around the giant Solomonic walls and the giant Watergate there. And so you would have to say, wouldn't you, that Herbert W. Armstrong College really does round out a student's education. That the same students could go from being in a classroom in Edmond studying microbial growth to operating spotlights for performers of the Russian National Ballet, to wandering around the Negev desert and excavating millennia-old pieces of ancient civilization in Jerusalem, that the very same students can fill all of those positions is entirely unique. And through the student work program, finally leaving the college completely debt-free. Now that is some college experience. That is something you don't find many places around this world. Students who leave this institution with real hope for what the future holds, with a clear vision and a path ahead, not only knowing how to earn a living, but how to live. And so I want to thank all of you. I want to thank all of you on behalf of myself and the sophomore and senior classes specifically for all of your support. No type of higher education like Armstrong College could have been taught without a foundation laid for us by you parents and by you relatives. Words cannot describe the thanks for all your support, your kindness, your generosity, your sacrifice that has brought all of us this far. Thank you to all the teachers who have so diligently given of your time for us. I know as students it can be painful sometimes when we receive the assignments, big papers to write, but we don't really think of all the work you put in to teach these classes and to take these assignments and to mark them and to turn the grades in. So thank you for all your dedicated time and service. I want to say thank you to my fellow students. On behalf of the seniors and sophomores that are leaving the college, it has been a privilege to serve with you. The memories that we will cherish from this time together have been great. Studying with you in class, filming with you on the Palestinian-Israeli Gaza border with the conflict going on there, running youth summer camps with you, ushering patrons and assisting great musicians within this auditorium, putting on large-scale musical productions together. When I applied to come here 4 years ago, my co-workers in New Zealand thought I was crazy. What? You're going to a college in Oklahoma? Why would you leave New Zealand to go to Oklahoma, of all places? Well, if only they knew. If only they knew what I had done here, what all of us have done here as students, teachers. If only they knew and could see where we have been and where this college has helped to take us. And so I thank all of you, parents, siblings, grandparents, friends, students, specifically the President and Dean of Students, Mr. Stephen Flurry, and the Chancellor, Mr. Gerald Flurry, and most of all, the great God for making this possible, for giving us students a vision, a hope for the future, a hope that is so lacking in this world, something so missing in this world, for teaching us a way to live our lives, a way that works. And now the onus is upon us, leaving from this college, to go out and be an example of this way of life, to really show this hope that you've shown us here through the college. Though some of us have come to an end of our college careers here, we know that this is in no way the end. And as we go on from Herbert W. Armstrong College, we realize, as the great Sir Winston Churchill once said, referring to the Allied victory at El Alamein, now is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but perhaps it is the end of the beginning.